Welcome to the session on pre-Socratic thinkers, the Ionians. Western philosophy is generally considered to have begun in ancient Greece as speculation about the underlying nature of the physical world. In its earliest form, it was indistinguishable from natural science. The writings of the earliest philosophers no longer exist except for a few fragments cited by Aristotle in the 4th century BC and by other writers of later times. The earliest Greek philosophy is naturalistic. Its attention is directed towards nature. It is mainly monistic. It seeks to explain everything by means of a single principle. It is also dogmatic. The philosophers of this period were concerned with two interdependent problems regarding external nature. The first problem was what the origin of everything is, and the second was the problem of change. The early Greek thinkers tried to explain everything existing in the universe with the help of one material substance. There exists a different answer for the same question, that is, what the basic substance is. The second period of development of philosophy is that of sophist to Aristotle, which includes Socrates and Plato. During this period, Greek philosophy turns away from ontological and cosmological speculations and devotes its attention almost exclusively to the problem of man. The systematic period of the Greek thinkers, namely Plato and Aristotle, is the last period in the history of Greek thought. The origin of Greek thought is molded by the transition from traditional mythology and cosmogony into systematic philosophical ideas. The earliest Greek philosophers belonged to the Ionic school. The three prominent figures of the period are Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes. The distinction of Ionic school is that it emphasized some specific entities of material world as the essence of all reality. Hence, the pioneer of Greek philosophy is regarded as materialist in the strict sense. The problem of substance and change has been one of the crucial issues of philosophical debate both in the East and the West. In Western philosophy, the debate originated in the thought of Ionian cosmologists. This project intends to study how the problem of substance and change originated and evolved in the ancient Greek philosophy from Thales to Heraclitus. It also will focus on the development of philosophical debate with this problem as the key to understand Western metaphysics. Milesians. The first known philosophers of ancient Greece were from a city-state called Miletus. Located on the west coast of what is now the peninsula of Turkey, Miletus was a thriving seaport and part of a region of cities called Ionia. As a hub of sea trade, residents of Miletus were in contact with surrounding cultures and as such were influenced by many of their views, particularly theories of astronomy that came from civilization to the east of Greece. The three first philosophers from Miletus were Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes, all of whom attempted to answer the question, what is the common stuff from which everything is composed? Thales. The earliest Greek philosopher, Thales, belongs to the Ionic school. He is regarded as the founder of the early school of philosophy. Thales has liberated Greek philosophy from the mythological part and determined the future course of Western philosophy. He was admired as one of the 7 sages in ancient Greece. He had left nothing written for posterity, but it is clear that he had explained water as the first principle. According to Thales, 1. The essential principle of everything is water. 2. All comes from water. 3. All returns to water. Thales, by introducing water as the ultimate reality, determined the early development of Greek thought. Hence, Thales is considered as the father of Greek philosophy, because he made the first reduced attempt to explain the universe on the basis of the naturalistic and scientific principles. Thales is admired as the first thinker to develop a distinct philosophical approach to reality, but his cosmology has not explained the transition from one ultimate reality to the many apparent forms. Anaximander. Anaximander was born in Miletus and was a disciple of Thales. Anaximander had deep knowledge in astronomy and geography, and he was the first Greek philosopher to write a treatise. According to Anaximander, the ultimate principle of reality is matter, but it is not any particular kind of material object, but the boundless and infinite form of being. The primal matter of Anaximander is the eternal and imperishable substance out of which different kinds of matter emerges and into which all things return. Matter is therefore the pure being which is qualitatively undifferentiated. Anaximander agreed with Thales about the ultimate reality as to cosmological principle, but he is more progressed than his teacher because he was able to present a naive theory of evolution. According to Anaximander, matter by eternal motion separates into the hot and the cold. The cold moist matter becomes the earth, which is the fire that surrounds the earth. The heat of the fire causes the water of the earth to evaporate to form the sheet of air. Anaximander's philosophy marked definite progress from that of Thales, as the former had explained the transition of one primal matter into the many different forms of reality. Even though Anaximander's theory of evolution is a naive one, it foreshadowed the later theories of evolution in philosophy and biology. Anaximenes. Anaximenes had left the fragment of a small philosophical treatise. He agreed with Thales, like Anaximander, about the first principle of universe as material. So, it is a view of naturalism. For Anaximenes, air is the ultimate principle of reality that stretches infinitely through space. Air is certainly in motion, and the power of motion is inherent. Motion is the cause of the development of the universe from air. There are two opposite processes of motion, namely air to form fire. By condensation, air is compressed, giving rise to clouds, water, earth and rocks. Earth is a flat disk floating upon air. Anaximenes might have conceived air as the ultimate reality, since air in the form of breath is the principle of all life. Anaximenes is considered more logical and clear than Anaximander because he suggested the definite process or rarefaction and condensation that drive evolution of the world forward. Ionians. Thales, Anaximander and Anaximenes started a philosophical trend in their geographical region of Ionia and from neighboring cities. They were joined by two other philosophers, namely Heraclitus and Pythagoras. Together, these five philosophers are sometimes seen as forming a distinct Ionian school of philosophy. Heraclitus. Heraclitus was born into an aristocratic family from the Ionian city of Ephesus, not far from the city of Miletus, where Greek philosophy first began. The approximate period of Heraclitus is from 535 to 475 BC. He had written a prose treatise which was very much observed in style. The philosophical position of Heraclitus was just the opposite of Eleatics. Hence, he regarded becoming as the only reality and all being as permanence or illusion. Everything is in a state of perpetual change. Nothing remains what it is because everything is ever in transition. The famous saying of Heraclitus is that no one can step into the same water twice. the appearance of relative permanence is only illusion. The water that makes a wave changes from moment to moment. So, according to Heraclitus, all is flux. In one and the same moment, a thing is and is not. Becoming implies the state of being is and is not at the same time. For Heraclitus, both being and not being are equal as they form the dialectical correlation in becoming. Being is not being and vice versa because one is inherent in the other. Death or ceasing to be is an inherent property of life. According to Heraclitus, not only being, but everything in the world has its opposites inherent in itself. Everything is a harmony of opposite tensions. The essential being of a thing is its becoming through the conflict of opposites. The metaphysics of Heraclitus is supported by a theory of physics which explains the world as composed of fire. This world was made not by gods or human beings, but by an eternally living fire. This concept of fire as the ultimate essence of all reality corresponds to the metaphysics of becoming. According to Heraclitus, the primal fire becomes air, air turns to water and water into earth. This is the downward path of becoming. There is also the corresponding upward path in which the earth transforms finally into fire. The upward and downward paths are one and the same. The fire as the ultimate essence of reality has also symbolic meaning. The soul or the principle of life is analogous with fire, since fire has the unique property of consuming everything into its own form. According to Heraclitus, all tensions are reconciled in one, and the one manifests into many. This implies a kind of relativism in physics and ethics. Pythagoras. We do not know much about the life of Pythagoras. He was born at Samos. In his middle age, he arrived in southern Italy and settled at Crotona. There he establishes the Pythagorean society. It was a religious and ascetic order closely associated with the Orphic sect. From the Orphic sect, Pythagoras adopted their belief in the transmigration of the soul and the release from the wheel of life. The rules and way of life followed by Pythagoreans were in conflict with the established political order of Crotona. So, the member of the order had to face severe persecution from the state, which led to the ultimate decline of the Pythagorean order. Pythagorean developed a clear system of mathematical metaphysics which recognized the element of proportion, order and harmony as universal. Normally, the objects in the world are recognized by the qualities, but qualities are different from one object to another, and no sensible quality is universal. The only one universal quality present in everything is that all things are numerable and countable. Hence, Pythagoreans argued that the ultimate basis or essence of all reality is numerical. We cannot imagine a universe without numbers. As soon as we conceive an object of reality, some quantitative and numerical consideration becomes inevitable. Pythagoreans emphasized this as the essential and universal ground of all reality. Pythagoreans considered proportion and order as universally present because proportion is the quantitative relation of one object with another and order is measurable by number. They conceived the necessary relation between cosmic harmony and musical harmony. Musical harmony is determined by the intervals in musical notes that correspond to definite numerical proportions. Similar points and relations can be found as the basis of order in the universe. All the objects of the world are ultimately reducible to mathematical entities like surfaces, lines and points. We can count the points clearly and therefore, the world is made up of numbers. Hence, Pythagoreans regarded the first or primal principle of the universe as essentially mathematical. So, according to Pythagoreans, number is the world ground or the stuff out of which the universe had developed. All the numbers arise from one unit and further they are divided into odd and even numbers. The odd and even numbers represent the limited and unlimited or the finite and infinite dimensions of reality. Hence, Pythagorean considered that the universe is composed of pair opposites on contradictories like one and many, limited and unlimited, rest and motion, good and evil, etc. The limited and unlimited therefore become the ultimate principles of the universe. The limit is identified with the unit 1, which is further identified with the central fire as the health of the universe. Until the time of Pythagoras, Earth was regarded as the center of the universe. Pythagoras argued that the Earth, like other planets, is revolving round the central fire. So, there was an attempt to foreshadow the later astronomical objection to geocentrism. Characteristics of the philosophy of Ionics. W. T. Stace says that all philosophy begins in materialism. The first thinker of Ionia, Thales, conceived water as the ultimate principle of all reality. So, Thales can be considered as the father of Greek philosophy, for he had introduced the method of philosophical thinking as the search for one ultimate reality. All three Ionics, Thales, Anaximander and Anaximenes, agreed upon the method and goal of philosophy as the discovery of the one essential principle underlying all the diversity in empirical world. All the three Ionics introduced one or another kind of matter as the essence of all reality. So, their philosophies are based on one or another cosmological principle and they can be included in naturalism. The Ionics are also called hylozoists to indicate their materialistic basis because the Greek word hule means matter. The philosophy of Ionics marks not only the starting point of Western metaphysics, but also its progressive evolution. So, the philosophy of Anaximander is more advanced than that of Thales, and Anaximenes was able to make much progress from Anaximander. Thales could not explain the transition of water into many different forms of reality, but Anaximander had introduced the concept of evolution of the world. Anaximenes improved their concept by explaining the definite process of rarefaction and condensation that drive evolution forward. So, we can say that to a certain extent the Ionics were able to foreshadow the later scientific principles of evolution. The Greek philosophers were primarily concerned with the problem of substance. So, it was naturalistic as well as ontological. Since the phenomena of nature are explained by means of a single principle, early Greek philosophy is also called monistic. Anyway, the Ionics had tried to explain the change or transition from one to many in their own naive fashion. Cosmology. Cosmos is the law governed universe which is causally determined. It also implies an ordered universe both quantitatively and qualitatively. Quantity and quality are characteristics of every sensible object. The view of Ionic thinkers is that the ultimate reality is both quantitatively and qualitatively matter. Ionian thinkers had the tendency to look outwards than inwards. Hence, their metaphysics became characteristically cosmological. According to Ionian thinkers, thought begins by looking outwards upon the external world and not inwards upon his own self. This fact determines the character of the first period of Greek philosophy. It is concerned with nature, with the external world. Man is taken only as a part of nature. so it is cosmological. Thales and other Ionian thinkers believed that man begins by looking outwards upon the external world and not inwards upon his own self. Anaximander believed that innumerable worlds are boundless. He conceived worlds as succeeding each other in time. According to Anaximander, world was created, developed and was destroyed, and another world arises, and this method continues forever. This periodic revolution of worlds went on forever. Anaximander believes that innumerable world, it is the view that there may be any number of worlds existing at the same time. These worlds were not everlasting, but began, developed and decayed and giving place in due time to another world. World is represented by Anaximenes as breathing as man's soul. So, breath or air surrounds and maintains the whole world. The cosmic air is animated and extends infinitely through space. Anaximenes considered the earth to be a flat disk floating upon air. Monism. Monism is a very broad term which means that there is ultimately only one thing or only one kind of thing or matter. It is also the doctrine that maintains that there is only one basic stuff which manifests into the many kinds and forms we observe. Monistic philosophy attempts to prove that the entire universe emerges from one single principle. The opposite of monism is pluralism, which explains the universe in terms of many forms and objects. The Ionian thinkers Thales, Anaximenes and Anaximander believed that the ultimate reality is one. According to Thales, the basic substance is water. He taught that everything is essentially water and all comes from water, and to water all returns. According to him, water has the quality of nourishment, be it seed which is essential to life. In fact, Thales considered water to be the original stuff of the world. Thales was influenced by the myth of Oceanos and Tethys in selecting water as the primary substance in the world. Water is the primal kind of being, and everything in the universe is a modification of water. Anaximenes also held a monistic principle. According to him, air is the ultimate reality. He believed that reality is only one. According to him, air is constantly in motion and the power of motion present. This motion brought about the development of the whole universe from air. Anaximenes selected air as the primary substance because air has the potential to become dry and cold. Moreover, air is the essential basis of life. Anaximander also postulates a monistic principle of reality by conceiving indefinite matter as the ultimate stuff. It is boundless or infinite. It is conceived as eternal and imperishable substance out of which all things are made and to which all things return. Materialism. Materialism is the view that everything is made up of matter or material stuff. Universe is exclusively made up of some material and is filled with material objects. Materialism is the most common sense view because we all experience the external world as real and concrete. Material world is also different from mental world, and the former is known by extrospection, whereas the latter is known by introspection. Ionian philosophers Thales, Anaximander, Anaximenes are all materialists. W.T. Stace explains the view as hylozoism. The Greek term hule means matter. Stace opined that human mind is naturally materialistic and that philosophy is the movement from sensuous to non-sensuous thought. So, Thales first answered the question, what is the ultimate reality? He explained the nature of ultimate reality in terms of a sensuous object, namely water. Thales opined that a particular kind of matter is the ultimate principle and it is water. Anaximenes also believed that a particular kind of matter is ultimate principle and it is air. Apart from these thinkers, Anaximander believed that there is no particular kind of matter, but there is a single ultimate principle. This essential stuff or matter is formless, indefinite and absolutely featureless. It is the substratum of all, including iron, brass, water, air or any other material. The primal matter of Anaximander is pure matter not separated into different kinds. It is formless and characterless and so indeterminate in quality. So, it is also illimitable in quantity. Anaximander believed that matter stretches out infinitely through space. In his opinion, if there were a limited amount of matter, it would have been long ago used up in the creation and destruction of the innumerable worlds. Hence, he called it the boundless. Questions. 1. What was Thales' reason for saying that water is the primary stuff of nature? 2. Different Milesian philosophers said that the primary stuff of nature was water, the unbounded or air. Pick one of these and defend it against the other two. 3. General characteristics of Ionian philosophy. Here are some books for your reference. 1. Tilly Frank, History of Philosophy, Central Publishing House, Allahabad. 2. Mashi Y, A Critical History of Western Philosophy, Motilal Banarsidass Publishers, 1999. 3. Sinha Jadunath, A Manual of Ethics, New Central Book Agency, New Print, 1994. 4. Stewart David, Blocker Jean H, Fundamentals of Philosophy, Dorling Kindersley Private Limited, 2008. Hope you enjoyed this session. We will meet with another topic. Till then, bye.